things you say every single day that are doing damage you don't even realize. They sound innocent. They feel like simple statements of fact. You have been saying them so long you don't even hear them anymore. But every single time they come out of your mouth, they're shaping who you are becoming. Shaping what you believe about yourself. Shaping the kind of life you are walking into. And not in the direction you'd want if you stopped to think about it. Here's the truth. The words you speak about yourself, about your life, about other people, they are not neutral. They are not just describing reality, they are creating it. The brain you carry around in your head has been listening to your voice your entire life, and it has been taking notes. Every I can't, every I'm not, every I always. The brain catalogs these statements and builds your identity around them. So if you have been saying the same limiting things for 30 years, you are the person who lives inside those statements. You built that prison with your own voice. Today, I want to talk about 10 things you have to stop saying out loud, not in your head, though that's also important, but out loud, where the brain hears them most clearly, where they get the most reinforcement, where they do the most damage. These are common phrases. You probably say several of them, maybe most of them. You might say one of them every day without thinking, and each one is quietly limiting what you become. Stop saying them and watch what changes. Not because the words are magic, they aren't, but because the absence of those words leaves room for different words. And different words over time build a different person. Now, before we get into the list, you have to understand why this matters. Because most people don't believe that the way they talk about themselves actually shapes them. They think their words are just a description of reality, not a creator of it. So they say negative things about themselves freely, thinking they're being honest, thinking they're being self-aware. And they don't connect any of it to why their life looks the way it does. Listen, you cannot keep declaring limitations every day and expect your life to look like you don't have them. The brain doesn't work that way. You see, the brain is built to look for evidence that confirms whatever you tell it is true. If you tell it you're not good with money, every time you make a financial decision, it will help you make a bad one to confirm the story. If you tell it you don't have discipline, every time you face a hard choice, it will help you take the easy way out to confirm the story. The brain is loyal to the story you give it. Loyalty isn't always a good thing. And here's what most people don't realize. The stories you tell yourself out loud are the stickiest. Saying something to yourself in your head is one thing. Saying it out loud, where you hear your own voice declaring it, is another. The brain treats the spoken version as a stronger signal, as a kind of commitment, as something you're publicly agreeing to be. And once you've publicly agreed to be something in front of yourself and other people, the cost of contradicting that becomes higher. So you keep saying it and keep being it. So if you have been saying things about yourself out loud to friends, to family, to coworkers for years, those statements have done more damage than anything you have thought silently. Because every time you said them, you were reinforcing them, cementing them, making them harder to overcome. The good news is the same mechanism works in reverse. The moment you stop saying the limiting things out loud, the brain has less evidence for the story it has been telling about you. The story starts to weaken. Other possibilities open up. You're not going to be a different person tomorrow because you stopped saying, I'm not good with money. But you also won't be the same person in 5 years. And the version of you in 5 years who has stopped speaking those limitations into existence, that person has options the current version of you doesn't have. You must take this seriously. Every single day, the words you speak about yourself are voting for who you'll become. Cut these from your speech forever, starting now. Number 1, you must stop saying, "I'm not good with money." That statement is one of the most damaging things you can declare about yourself, and most people say it like it's just a quirk, like they're admitting to a small weakness. They're not. They're locking themselves into a financial identity that will follow them for the rest of their life. Here's the truth. Money is a skill, not a talent, not a gift. A skill, like driving, like cooking, like reading. And anybody who is alive can learn a skill if they spend any meaningful time trying. The person who says, "I'm not good with money," is not actually telling you the truth about their abilities. They're telling you the truth about how much time they've spent learning the skill. The answer is very little. When you say, "I'm not good with money," your brain hears, "This is who I am. This is fixed. There's no point in trying." And the brain, being loyal, helps you avoid every situation where you might have to develop the skill. You don't read the book. You don't track your spending. You don't learn about investing. You don't ask the questions you should be asking. Because to do any of that would contradict the identity you've declared. So you stay where you are, bad with money, because you have been protecting that identity for years without realizing it. You see, the people who are good with money were not born good with money. They were born exactly the same as you. They got curious, they paid attention, they asked questions, they tracked their spending for 1 month. They read one book, they made one investment. They learned in small pieces over time the skill that you have been declaring you don't have. Drop the phrase permanently, even if it feels true right now. Even if you have a long history of financial mistakes, even if you can list 10 ways you have messed up with money, none of that is who you are. All of it is who you have been. And who you have been doesn't have to be who you become. The first step in becoming somebody who is good with money is to stop declaring every chance you get that you are not. Next, stop saying, "I don't have time," because what you're actually saying and what your brain is hearing is, it's not a priority, but it sounds like a fact when you frame it as time. And the framing tricks you into believing you're the victim of your schedule, instead of recognizing you're the architect of it. You must reckon with the fact that you cannot keep blaming time for what is actually a choice. Here's the truth. You have the same 24 hours every other person has. The CEO has them. The parent of 3 has them.